Looking at the time is now 6:30. Is that on? Yeah, that's on. Let me call to order the meeting of the Merrimack Planning Board for tonight's meeting. The next meeting will be on January 17th on January 17th, 2023 at 6:30 here in the Matthew Thornton room. For tonight, let me make sure that I remind everybody to make sure your microphone is on to speak clearly into them, and also to make sure you tell us who you are, where you live, before you tell us what you have. For tonight's meeting, Halim, I'm going to put you in for Miss Lynn Christensen, and Maureen, I'm going to put you in a voting position for Jamie. Did you get that, Robert? Didn't skip it this time, but just for you. Next is on to the Planning and Zoning Administrator's Report. Robert, what do you have for us tonight?
I have nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Thank you very much. Members, that brings us to the consent agenda, which tonight includes the regional impact determinations, Neighbor Works site plan, roadway maintenance bond release, extension request of the Anheuser-Busch The Hamlets Apartments site plan. That's from Planning Board case number 2022-05. And another extension request for 57 to 59 DW Highway Warehouse Project from Planning Board case number 2021-19. As the consent agenda works, if anybody wants to pull any of those out, speak on them separately or vote on them separately. Ms. Healy, please.
Mr. Chair, do you have to read in Mr. Disco?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nelson, did I skip over you? I did.
Yes, you did.
I
and That
apologize.
was my first question. Thank you, Barbara.
Robert, I wrote it down. I did it just for you, and I skipped a whole person. Now I'm going to put Nelson in for Mr. Bob Best.
Got it.
Nelson, I even had people written down here, and I skipped right over you. I'm sorry about that.
We'll get over-
Now, with everybody in a voting position, onto the consent agenda.
Mr.
Ms.
Chair,
Healy.
move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Do I hear a second of Ms. Healy's motion?
I'll second it.
I saw Mr. Disco first, seconded by Mr. Disco. Any further conversation? Seeing none, all in favor of passing the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That is 7-0-0 for the consent agenda. Item number 4 on our agenda for tonight is the Ronald Rosenfeld as the applicant and Jarrett and Jillian Susi and Rosaniero Trust of 2014. This is consideration of an amendment to a conditionally approved lot line adjustment, seeking to remove the condition of approval pound 6E imposed by the planning board at its June 4th, 2021 meeting, which requires the provision of easement documentation to allow an existing driveway encroachment onto a budding property to remain or removal of that encroachment. The parcels are located at 12 and 14 Dodier Court in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts. That's tax map 7C, lots 47-1 and 47-2, case planning board number 2021-13. Robert, do you have anything for us on this item?
Sure. Just to briefly summarize the staff memo, this is a lot line adjustment that was conditionally approved back in June of 2021. As a part of that approval, there was a condition placed that reads, staff notes the paved drive and gravel area benefiting lot 47-1 encroaches onto lot 54. The applicant shall provide an easement documentation that allows this encroachment to exist or remove the encroachment prior to final approval. So the applicant's been working in the background and has been extended a couple of times trying to coordinate with the neighbor to get that documentation. Recently, the applicant did provide written documentation from that neighbor. That's the owner of 7 Circle Drive, which is lot 54. Basically saying that they are allowing the encroachment to continue, but do not wish to engage in a formal easement document at this time because they want to reserve the right to remove that encroachment in the future. Staff is totally fine with that approach, so the applicant has come forward at this point to request that the board remove that condition of approval because there's no way to wrap up that plan with that condition still in place.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have the applicant here tonight?
Alexander Buchanan on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you, sir. If you could please sit down, make sure your microphone's on.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? That was a generalization from Robert. Mr. Disco, please.
I wondered if we had any review by our attorney on this matter. I think it's a matter of legalities and liabilities here, and I think our attorney should weigh in on this.
We have not gone to legal counsel with this. It's a private encroachment, so we didn't really feel it was appropriate to bring our counsel into a private neighbor dispute, essentially is what it would amount to.
Do we have the authority to do this? I guess it would be the
Yeah,
next.
yep, you do, and the board's done this before. Bob, in past instances, has famously commented something along the lines of the board acknowledges that there is an encroachment, but in no way, what's the word I'm looking for, agrees or whatnot, the word I'm looking for, you know what I mean, to the
Yes.
fact that it is there. But yes, you do have the authority to approve the plan with that encroachment in place.
We have, yeah, now that he says that, we have come across this before.
Okay.
No, yeah, I
As long as
understand. I
the
agree with you.
attorneys have agreed,
Yeah.
you know, as long as our attorney agrees, then, okay.
Any
Okay.
further questions, Mr. Disco?
No further questions at this time.
Nothing. Board members? Anything else?
We were going to hear from Mr.
If you have anything to add?
I really don't. I'm here more to answer questions. Apologize that it's taken us this long. The pandemic got in the way of getting to the engineer, and then when they looked at what the configurations would be and the cost, that's why the homeowner that's not part of this application declined to go any further. He's happy with his neighbor. He knows he can terminate it at any time. Mr. Susi understands that as well. So, and the only other thing is that we're going to need a little bit more time to finalize the approval. We've met all the conditions, but we have to get a mortgage of the Susis amended to do this. And as you can imagine, that's not the easiest thing to do because they're not the local bank. They're, you know, an online type lender or, you know, that we've got to deal with. So there's some of that. We're working on it as soon as we can, but we'd like 6 months from now to get it finished.
Okay. Bob and board members, I know we've been pretty laissez-faire with these kind of things. I see no issue in continuing that, unless anybody disagrees. Maureen, please. Oh, you might have a dead one.
So just what would happen if they do change their mind down the road? So then what happens?
Robert would be able to answer that.
So if they decide to remove the encroachment, it becomes a private civil matter between the two owners.
In other words, it pretty much just gets kicked to civil court and they'll handle it between themselves.
The landlocked parcel would have no legal access to their property.
It's not a landlocked situation. The driveway actually just kind of curves
Just cuts
over.
into
It's
it.
just,
Yeah, it cuts in and out.
they have frontage. It's just
Yeah.
that they're using a bit of land for their driveway.
Got it, got it.
So if the other landowner disagrees, they can terminate it and they'll have to get their driveway off of their property. Yeah. Yep.
We have that documented somewhere. I think we
I
have.
believe we should, Robert. I mean, you said they have documentation for that, right?
Yeah, from the consenting owner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do. Okay.
Any further questions? If not, I can entertain a motion.
Public comment first.
What was
It,
that?
it is a hearing. Public
Oh, it
comment.
is a hearing. Okay, yeah. Given we have no more questions, I'd like to open the public hearing at 6:39. Any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter, please step forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:39. Board members?
I'll move to grant the request to remove that as a condition for the approval of the June 21st or whenever it was. 2021, yeah.
So, yeah. Have a motion made by
use-
Mr. Disco.
Using the motion in the staff memo.
Oh, I should have done that. Where is it? Okay.
Oh, it's on page 2 now. So.
Let's see here. Wait a minute. I make a motion to grant the amendment to the lot line adjustment subject to the recommended conditions of approval presented in the staff memo dated December 13th, 2022.
Motion made by Mr. Disco. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by
Thank you,
Mr. Dana.
Price.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Mr. Disco's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? That's 7-0-0 to grant final conditional approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is item number 5. That's John J. Flatley Company as the applicant and owner. This is continued review for consideration of an amendment to a previously approved mixed-use development conditional use permit. calling for the replacement of the previously proposed 20,000 square foot planned retail space with the 52,000 square foot self-storage facility. The parcels are located at 645, 673, 685, 703, and 707 Daniel Webster Highway and 5 Gilbert Drive in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation and Wellhead Protection Districts. That's tax map 6E, lots 3-1, 3-3, 3-4, 3-5, 3-6, and 3-7. This is case planning board number 2022-38, and this item is continued from the October 18th, November 15th, and December 20th, 22 planning board meetings. Robert, do you have anything for us on this item?
Just by way of quick summary, the applicant was last before the board, when they were last physically before the board. It was following the review by peer review engineering, on the traffic study that there was some ambiguity there, and our consultant felt that it did not comply with the criteria of the ordinance for the conditional use permit. So the applicant has since updated the traffic study, provided the necessary information to demonstrate to staff that it does satisfy the ordinance criteria. So at this point, staff feels that the traffic impact resulting from the amendment satisfies the ordinance requirement and represents an overall reduction in traffic generation from the currently approved CUP, which has some retail component that is being switched out.
Thank you, Robert. We have the applicant here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Disco.
do we have that traffic result? Because I didn't think we had a traffic study in our packet. Is that right, Mr. Price?
Yes, it looks like it was not provided in the packet. I was out of the office last week, so I'm just kind of going by what Tim has written here, but he's written it up and reviewed it, so he was satisfied that it does satisfy the ordinance.
Maybe he'll summarize for us what it says then. I didn't get an opportunity to read it.
Applicants, if you could please introduce yourself. Tell us what you have.
Sure. Nathan Chamberlain with Fieldstone Land Consultants.
Kevin Walker from the John Flatley Company.
So we're here to update the CUP for this project. It's been ongoing since 2014. The only change we are proposing is this area right here. There was a 20,000 square foot retail pad approved in this location. And we're here to change that to a 52,000 square foot climate controlled self-storage facility.
Yeah, I know the last thing we had met on was regarding the traffic, and basically our traffic engineer from Vanass submitted information to the planning department, really specifying, I guess focusing directly on this facility versus what was there before. Before, as Nate just mentioned, there was 20,000 square feet of retail. This is just a self-storage facility, so it's clearly going to be a reduction in traffic. So that was more isolated and submitted to the planning department. There were no other changes throughout the site, so the only change is going from the 20,000 retail to this self-storage facility. So there'll be actually less impact to DW Highway due to the pretty sizable reduction in traffic.
Isn't there something added in the retail section as well? Or did I?
No, the only
No.
change was changing that 20,000 square feet of retail.
Not since the last approved amendment. So it was amended last year as well. Since that time, the only thing that's changed is this here. So last time we added the 2 apartments,
Yeah.
correct? And so it hasn't changed since that time. And the only thing that's changed since that time is changing this from the retail to this self-storage facility. I did read the memo, our traffic engineer's response, and he compared to what was originally approved in 2014 to the current layout, which doesn't include all the changes that we've amended this several times, as you can see by the revision block there above the title block. And he did take into account all the changes, because it was originally, you know, like a Walmart, a big box retail. There was all kinds of retail, and it's all been scaled back considerably. And so he took what was approved in 2014 to what's currently proposed, and it's a significant reduction in traffic. So we went from almost 14,000 trips a day to 8,000 trips a day. From what
At
was
which-
originally approved to current.
At, where is that change taking place? At which intersection?
Well, that's across the entire site. So,
Yeah, but for the purposes of this, for this master plan revision, basically they're looking at that intersection right there, the St. Gobain.
right, this change just affects that intersection, which is still a reduction because we're going from retail, obviously, to self-storage, which is a low traffic generator.
You said that he's comparing it to what was originally approved back in 2014, correct?
Correct.
So his new numbers, does that account the extra apartment buildings that were placed?
Yes.
That
Yep.
doesn't count
Yes.
those.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So there's slightly more apartments, but there's quite a bit less retail.
The
and
drop off in
industrial space.
retail is what? Okay. So what you're basically saying, just to kind of flatten a little bit, is that the increase in residential does not make up for the loss in commercial, I guess you would say, if we're just going to a self-storage, traffic-wise.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused by the packet we were given, which has, you see, they talk about the big retail, and I got a little confused by what we were presented here.
So what page are you looking at?
Well, just this page for one.
Gotcha. So that's just the yeah. So just from what I'm gathering there, that's just the overall. I hate to call it a secondary site, but the second phase. So you see Gilbert Drive right south of that. So the yellow portion right there is phase 2 side of what we're looking at. So what would have been the retail, and I believe the high bay garages and light industrial included in that parcel
Yes.
as well, correct?
I don't see the,
I
I didn't
think-
see what he flashed up there.
So excuse me, the yellow part here, I'll give you, looks like you're gonna copy. It shows the retail parcel. What we're discussing today is over by Saint Gobain, which would be east of that. So my understanding would be that the packet is encompassing all conversation on this project up to this point, which has been quite a lot, which is why it's a little
Yeah,
confusing.
I think just if I could simplify it, we've gone through the traffic for the 2 additional apartments. We have approval on that. I believe the board's actually gonna be endorsing those plans tonight. We did the same with the flex site. And we're here specifically for this one building. So the real focus, I guess, is what was there before, what kind of traffic did it produce compared to what are we proposing now? And basically, again, what was there was 20,000 square feet of retail, and now we're going to the self-storage facility that has a tremendous reduction in the traffic.
Okay, based on the original CUP approval that was approved back in the day.
Yeah, the original CUP had retail in that area.
Right, that, this portion of the CUP is the same as the original up until now.
Yeah,
Everything else has changed from the original, for the most part.
We're basically going from retail to self-storage.
Right. It's just
And
this
and
corner.
that's as
Yeah.
simple as it gets.
By showing the initial plans, they're just trying to make the fact that traffic is being dropped off as we initially approved it back in 2014 with the addition, the substitution of self-storage instead of retail.
okay. Yeah, well,
So this is
Miss
the
Healy, please.
left parcel. This is all the retail right here.
yeah,
The only thing that's changing today
is that,
is this
yeah,
piece right here.
okay. That wasn't obvious to me in reading this.
I understand. It's a bit convoluted, the packet, but that's because they're trying to show
Yeah.
the entire old plan and they're trying to translate it into what they want in this
Yeah,
updated plan. But I see where you're coming from, Nelson.
okay, so that's, this is an overall. Okay,
Robert, could you just, because I do remember last time that the engineers disagreed. Could you tell me what changed to where they're fine with this plan now? If there's any kind of memo or anything on that?
I'd have to go through a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What did he say? I didn't hear.
He would have to go through the notes. So last time, from my memory, granted this is before the holidays that I'm going over it, I'm trying to find the notes on it now, but Fuss and I'm looking at it right there. There you go. 5% regulations. Yeah. Fuss and O'Neill disagreed with their traffic study outcome.
Yes.
Correct, Robert, and it had to do with the either the trips generated or they didn't agree that they didn't need a stoplight.
I don't remember the exact reason. I'm trying to pull up the previous memo to find out.
I'm trying to find them.
It really had to do with things that, and it's what I had spoken about the last meeting. It didn't really have to do with this. It had to do with other things.
More
that
south
They
of the
weren't
property.
really. They weren't really supposed to review. Basically, that wasn't their purview to review all that other stuff. Nothing changed. All that other stuff was already approved. We haven't changed anything to the south of what we're looking at right here. It turns out, my understanding is they weren't aware of that, so they looked at the whole site and redid the whole review, even though their own company previously approved everything beforehand. This is just a different reviewer for the same company, and didn't really get the notes on whoever reviewed that prior to him at his company, and came up with his own 2 cents on it. But everything to the south of this, like I mentioned, has already been approved by Fuss and O'Neill. They've approved, like I said, the apartments, the flex.
Okay,
So
Robert, just give me a heads up when you find anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can find the previous report. I found the staff memo, which
Yeah.
the last staff memo only had the conclusion statement in it, which
Correct.
basically said that they needed more information to be able to definitively confirm or support their conclusions.
Yeah, that's where I left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board members, while Mr. Price is looking, anybody have any clarifying questions? Miss Healy, please.
Yeah, couple of questions. So this being the 14th self-storage unit site in the town of Merrimack on the DW, 15 if you count U-Haul down the road in Bedford, how many units are going to be in there? And the plan looks a little incomplete to me because I'm not seeing where your lighting is. I'm not seeing where the parking is going to be.
So this isn't a full site plan. This is just a master plan.
Yeah.
So we'll have to come in and
So since you're asking to put in something different, that's why I'm saying,
Right.
I would like to see the whole thing. Like how are you blocking it from view from the road? What's up with the lighting? Because now it's a whole different animal. You don't have any more commercial, I believe, on this whole site. I think you've gotten rid of it all. So it's not only reduced, it's gone.
no, we've got.
Isn't the rest of
The
it
center of the
warehouses?
site's still commercial.
The center of the site is all retail,
Okay, we'll see.
120,000 square feet or something.
Just to clarify,
see.
members, on one hand, yes, there is a little bit of retail left. I believe we're in a similar situation with another applicant before us, but this one does still have retail left. What we are doing tonight is just giving them approval to amend their plan. So we're kind of giving them the green light to go draw up a new plan that will then come with lighting,
Okay. So we will get
buffering,
that.
stuff like that. We will not get that unless we give
Okay.
them the green light to amend this plan. If we do not give them the green light, they'll be building what has already been approved, which is currently in front of us right now.
And-
And for that, you also don't have lighting and details also. That would also be,
Because it's a phased, yes.
Right.
We would need to see detailed plans anyways.
Right, if it was retail, we'd have to submit a site plan for the retail with all the details.
Correct.
The previous plan didn't have the details that she's referencing either.
Yes.
And there is a breakdown of all the uses that have been, to date.
I believe, yeah, I believe staff would require that on the plan.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
So-
Mr. Price.
I found the Fuss and O'Neill memo and looking through quickly, there's a lot of engineer speak questions, basically.
Did you say engineer speak
Yeah,
questions?
essentially.
Those are always
There's
interesting.
terminology in here that I do not
I can
understand.
respect
So it's basically a number of questions that they needed more information to be able to ascertain that it did comply with the ordinance. It
So-
sounds like that information was provided.
Okay, so boiling down, it was just a matter of needing more information, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which they have since
Which-
provided,
Correct, Mr. Price, which they have since provided, and
and they
Okay.
are now satisfied. Is Fuss and O'Neill satisfied with the responses?
Yeah, I believe that Tim may have handled that. I don't know if this particularly went back to Fuss and O'Neill to re-review,
they just
but
needed more time
Tim
with
did
the
review it
extra
himself.
information.
So that much I do know.
Would you say it again, please? Yeah.
I do know that staff did review it. I do not know if Fuss and O'Neill re-reviewed the information.
Yeah.
But all I have is the staff memo in front of me that says that the director of the department is satisfied that the information provided now satisfactorily meets the ordinance criteria.
And once again, just since Robert just said that, I just want to stress, this is just to agree that it does meet the zoning criteria, the ordinance criteria for this new plan. They will still have to come to us with buffering, parking lot numbers, all the extra stuff we always see, so.
Correct. This is only the permission to proceed with a site plan
Correct.
application. This is not any permission to construct anything.
Correct.
Maybe we could be sure and have some of that information for the board when that site plan comes forth.
Oh, we
Thank
can
you.
ask.
Absolutely, they would have to.
We can ask whatever we want for the,
Yeah, well,
Yeah, you'll have a full application with all of that information on there, parking spaces, parking circulation, landscaping, you name it, it'll all be on there.
okay, I have nothing further, Mr.
nothing
Chairman.
further. Other board members, anything further to add? Questions, clarifications? Seeing on Robert, we do still have a public hearing with the CUP amendment, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Not seeing any further questions. Given the time is 6:58, I'm now going to open up the public hearing. Any members of the public that wish to step forward and speak on this matter? Not seeing any. Going to close the public hearing at 6:58. We will have another one once we do have the full plans, just as a heads up. So there will be another opportunity. Board members, any further questions, clarifications? Otherwise, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
So,
Ms. Tracy, please.
And I'm not sure if it's to you or to you, but it says shall be required to provide update fiscal impact analysis to ensure that each phase of this project remains fiscally positive to the town of Merrimack. So I'm just wondering, and I don't see that information here. So is this going to be fiscally a good thing to do for Merrimack, going from retail to storage?
Yeah, we actually did submit a fiscal impact report, and I actually submitted a full report to Tim this afternoon that included this fiscal report. The fiscal report was done 6-8 months ago with this switch, and it showed a continued net positive fiscal impact.
Do you know what the numbers were?
Yeah.
350,000 net positive.
Look at you. Good. Thank you.
Is that a requirement for the CUP amendment, Robert, or is that they don't need that until the site plan review?
It has to be submitted prior to final approval of the CUP.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Tracy? No?
Will we have those in our minutes? Kevin is looking up some numbers. I'd like to get them part of the record here.
The exact. I know Mr. Chamberlain says he estimates it's around 350,000 net
Yeah,
positive.
it's in that bulk. The entire site is about 1.8 million. When
Correct.
built
Yeah,
out.
I would just expect just this portion.
'Cause
That was for the whole site.
No, yeah, okay, that's fine.
I would like that to be part of the record.
Mhm.
Okay.
I
thank you.
agree. Well, Mr. Walker looks for that. Do we have any further questions beyond that?
replacing the commercial space with a climate control facility will generate a little over 31,000 in tax revenue. Plus there'll be some vehicle tax fees also.
Now, is that in addition to what it was for retail, or is that overall?
The replacing of the commercial space with a climate control facility will generate 31,153. So yes, it looks like it's additional.
To what the retail was?
Yes.
Okay.
You're saying, yes, it's in addition to whatever the other was? Is that what,
It'll be $31,000 more than what the retail was.
okay, that's all I wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Going off, Barbara, what you said, and I mean, we say this with almost everything that comes in front of us. I agree that we have a lot of certain items in this town. Granted, that's not our purview. I would find it hard to believe a commercial company would want to be building a building that they're not 100% sure that would be full. But I mean, I've been saying that about the apartments for how long, and every building they build is full before they even finish it. Same thing with the self-storage, to be honest with you. The old Xylas is packed. So, yeah. Any further questions, board members? Mr. Anketell, please.
So I know there was an issue in the past with all this flex space and the retail in the middle and the apartments, and how we had discussed about having access behind all of those units to make everything cohesive and accessible for the apartments. This is on the other side of the St. Cobain entrance, is that right? And so the only way to access that would be from the DW highway,
Right now.
is what I'm looking at, yeah?
Yeah, coming off the San Gobain. Correct.
And the idea, I guess, for the self-storage, I imagine, is that you just put in a whole bunch of apartments and people don't have enough room to put their stuff. Is that anything that's helping push the self-storage? Is that, or is it just a good
Not really.
business to get into?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in the process of permitting one up in Rollinsford, New Hampshire. We've got one in Nashua, New Hampshire that we just built.
And filling right up.
They're doing all right. Yeah.
And you propose this to be like is this a single story, or is it like one of the
So
one of the
this is-
buildings with
This
multi-stories?
is gonna be 2.5 story, and I say a half because the slope at DW Highway is up here and it slopes down into the site. So you'll see 2 stories on DW Highway, but where you park will be a bottom floor with a half story of storage, and the rest will be a foundation.
And there's not any plan to do any motor storage or anything.
We have the means to do maybe 5 garage spaces. We're kind of seeing how it's gonna shake out with our other self-storage facilities, to see if we want to use those the same way or just use them as typical, storage units.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anketell. Anything further, board members? Seeing nothing to add, I can now entertain a motion.
I make a motion to find that the application meets the required criteria for the zoning ordinance to allow for the CUP to be amended and to further grant conditional final approval to the amended CUP application with the proposed conditions of approval as written in the staff memo dated December 29th, 2022.
Motion made by Mr. Dano. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Helene. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That's Neil in opposition. All abstaining? None. That is 6-1-0. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Chamberlain, look forward to
Appreciate it.
seeing the plans.
Have a good night. You for the next one, please?
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
Next up on the agenda is item number 6, which is As Life Goes On, LLC as the applicant, and Gordon House Assisted Living Residents as the owners. This is a review for consideration of final approval for an amendment to a conditionally approved site plan to raise and rebuild a portion of the existing building to convert it to a 24-bed assisted living facility. The parcel is located at 585 Daniel Webster Highway in the C1 Limited Commercial, R4 Residential, Aquifer Conservation, and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts. This is tax map 6D-1, lot 46, case planning board number 2020-27. This item is continued from the December 6th, 2022 planning board meeting. Robert, do you have anything on this item for us?
Yeah, just by way of summary, this is a project that was conditionally approved by the planning board back in 2020. It is to convert an existing building into 24-bed assisted living group home. Since that time, the applicant's been working in the background, kind of going through, doing their due diligence, and they did an evaluation of that building, and they realized that the structure, part of the structure, was in worse condition than they had suspected, therefore making their conversion not feasible in that portion of the space. So they have to actually raise that portion of the building and then reconstruct new. And that's why they are coming back here now as part of, to basically get that part approved. Staff noted in the review of this that the plan that you have before you shows a slight encroachment on the side setback into the R4 district, which would have required a variance. I spoke with Chad Brandon today, who said that he talked to the client, and I'm sure Mr. Chamberlain can speak to this when you talk to him. It sounds like the client is willing to redesign that building to avoid the need for a variance. It sounds like it's an easy redesign to accommodate that, so that would not be an issue. So if the board feels that a conditional approval is appropriate, there are currently proposed conditions in there that talk about obtaining a variance. Staff would suggest reworking those at the appropriate time tonight to something along the lines of applicant shall present a final, as part of the final plan, a design of the building that does not require a variance to the satisfaction of community development. We can work on the wording later on.
Thank you, Robert. The applicant here. Mr. Chamberlain, if you could please sit down, introduce yourself, and tell us what you have.
Nathan Chamberlain with Fieldstone Land Consultants, or Life Goes On. As Robert mentioned, the site plan was approved just a little over 2 years ago. And they got into we were trying to reuse the former Stay Spa, Levi Lowe's restaurant portion, and it wasn't viable. So this is the former restaurant here, and you can see it encroaches into the setback fairly considerably. It's only 7 or 8 feet off the lot line, and so this is the area that's being amended, and this is the original house here. So the original house stayed, and then they'd have this little portico, or the portico, this little connecting thing that you used to bring your horse and buggy into. That was going to be the elevator tower. And so working out the existing elevations of this main building, the original building, and the elevator, and this new building, the elevations didn't work out, and the building was decrepit, so they found it more financially suitable to just raise this portion and build a new facility. So that's just a demolition plan. So this is what we're looking at here. So you can see there's much more space along this, I guess, northeasterly boundary. And this little encroachment, because there's a zone line here, and the setbacks change when you get on this side of the zone line, and so we have this little encroachment here. So this is what would be reworked. We just step the building in to get out of that setback. So then the elevator tower is here in the middle where it always was, and there's actually a little atrium in the middle here. So on the ground, this is open to the ground, and there's like a catwalk that loops around. That's above grade. And the rest of the site is pretty much the same. There was a little rework to this driveway. This front parking lot is the same. The little loop drive where they used to have valet parking stays, and that's just for bringing people, like an ambulance in, to bring people in. But most of the stuff's gonna be happening over here, and then this drive is just a service drive, and the dumpster's back here. There is a a man door off the backside here that's connected to this service drive. That wasn't there before. There was doors there, but they weren't shown as being connected with a walkway. There's a new walkway here that connects to the new building that wasn't there before. So yeah, we went through, we made this change, we revised the grading. Basically, everything is right in this area in the driveway, which is essentially the same. Revised the drainage calculations, and there was some comments as well that were still hanging out from the last one, which we addressed when we resubmitted. There are still some comments to address on this current submission, but I think everything's pretty much been pretty well addressed so far, just some minor comments. Lighting is the same as what was previously proposed. There is a building mounted light here that shines there in the driveway, but mostly it's just some lantern type lights up front and along the street here. Here's the lighting plan. Landscaping plan. One of the things that was required was a condition of approval on the original approval was to build the sidewalk along the frontage. So that's shown on the plans. Little connector walk there, and some landscaping out front, and it's mainly just maintaining existing trees on site for landscaping. We can skip down. I do have some elevation. I do have an elevation of the plan. Building.
Not to cut you off, Mr. Chamberlain, but if you
Sure.
could just return to the landscaping. Since you're raising that portion of the building that is currently encroaching on the next property, you're not going to replace any kind of vegetation there where the building once stood.
Well, that'll be all loamed and seeded. I mean, we can certainly add some plantings over there as well.
I mean, I'm assuming this building, once again, I'm assuming that you're going to make the new portion of the building look similar to the original,
Right.
somewhat of a Victorian.
Yeah, it'll be all like clapboard.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Continue. Thank you.
We didn't get any pictures of what those look like in our,
Do we not have any elevation?
I
thought
didn't
there were some in the
find them.
back.
The elevations were submitted. I can flip to them here.
If you have them on there, Mr. Chamberlain, I thought I saw.
So
there you
we
go.
only have the elevation from the street.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah, I didn't see that in our packet.
Yeah, I
but-
don't think we have it.
That's one of the comments is to conclude those with the plan set, which we certainly will do.
Yeah, that might be why we didn't.
So this is what it looks like from the street. This is this dividing line here. It, almost in the center. This is the existing residential portion. And the porch and everything. And then this over here is the new. So they have like they're proposing like a barn door here. And
Will that be a functional barn door? What is
I
that?
don't know. I don't see that. That
assuming
would be
you want-
weather tight,
no.
but if they're going to be bringing people in, I guess maybe we
I mean, you
can
don't need
look
a
on the
loading
floor
bay to
plan.
be. Yeah, but
It doesn't really. So I guess this is the ground floor.
Mhm.
So. All right, let's see, but we're looking at right down in here, so it's not really clear to me whether it's functional or not.
no, I mean, I would assume it's just an aesthetic.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then how do you get in? There's no door.
There is a door. It's right here. It's got stairs though.
Oh,
So this door is to the new.
so you're
So
bringing
this is
people on
this is
an
like
ambulance?
mid-level. So the basement is below this. It's essentially mid-level.
Is there no ADA access?
No, there is a around on
Around
this
the
other
front.
side.
Okay.
I would be surprised if there wasn't at a
Yeah.
Yeah,
assisted living.
I would think both
I'm
ends.
assuming you would need it.
Sounds good.
So this would be the basement, the ground floor, basically. Here's the existing building, and then your typical basement there. But this would be there's 4 bedrooms, 4 units on the ground floor, and then the rest is like multi-purpose type rooms. And then this is the first floor with, I believe it says 8 bedrooms or 8 units,
That's
and a
12.
dining room and so on and so forth. And here's this little catwalk type thing. Goes
Oh,
around.
you would remain the atrium in the middle of the.
Yeah, the
Okay.
atrium's open to the air in here. And then this is the top floor, which has more bedrooms, obviously.
How many bedrooms in total?
There's 24, and that's what was originally approved.
So with this, the raising of that section does not affect the max capacity of the building.
No, same capacity was originally approved.
Okay.
Yep. And that's one of the things, he had like a double occupancy one on one of these, and it went over the original approval, so he knocked that back to a single.
Did you have a like a staff, or like a break room?
Yeah,
Over there, I didn't
that's
see
in the original building.
Okay.
Over in here.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're not really, there's no bedrooms proposed in the original building. It's all,
No, I'm assuming. Now that you say that, did you have to go through the Conservation Commission, the Historical Society, for any of this construction?
Historical.
Historical. That's I would assume so.
'Cause
Yeah.
You're raising.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've already approved all these,
I don't think we've gone through that process yet.
so you'll be going to them after us.
Yeah.
Robert, is that how it usually goes? The Historical Society doesn't see it till we approve of it.
We don't have any requirements for that in Merrimack.
No,
Right.
No.
So,
Strictly
I
voluntary.
did not know that.
As a member of the Historical Commission, the commission is supposed to be notified if a historical building is being raised
Mm.
in any part.
You just can't do anything about it. They just have to notify you.
They have to notify us, and we like to see what they're actually going to do and what the plan is.
And I don't know what qualifies as historic, but that portion was built.
No, I'm
70s.
assuming the restaurant portion is relatively, newer compared to the rest of the building.
Right.
I'm surprised that that's the portion that you have to
Yeah.
tear down, considering that the house has been there for a while.
I don't think it was maintained or, I don't really.
Well, I mean,
know.
it's been sitting there for
Yeah. It's a long
as
time.
long as I can remember. So, Mr. Anketell, please. Miss Healy.
Yeah, so this is assisted living, so that means they're more or less kind of independent with their ADLs, et cetera.
Yes.
So, and you don't have any staff, desk, documentation area, et cetera, over in the part that's going to be rebuilt? It's all in the existing building?
Correct. I mean, there is some,
As a nurse, I find that very interesting.
Inconvenient, you might say.
That too.
My wife would say the same thing.
yeah, I don't know a lot of detail about the building. They do have some common area and stuff with the new portion, but most of the operations are occurring in the old building.
Well, I'm sure a lot of that's, at least at my wife's job, is computerized now. It's attached to the nursing card anyways. But I don't even think, Robert, that's not even part of our jurisdiction anyways.
Nope.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So the parking numbers, parking situation, nothing's changed from the
No, it's
previous.
the same number of bedrooms. It's
Okay.
based on bedrooms and employees.
Robert, has the fire department looked at the amendment yet? I mean, it's not a massive change for them, at least. They're gaining access to one side of the building, so, I mean, I would assume they would be happier.
Yeah, and this driveway was modified as part of the original approval for the fire
That
access.
horseshoe was not part of the original approval?
No, it was. But
Okay.
it was modified from what's there now.
Gotcha.
It's much narrower than what we're
Yeah,
proposing.
it's like a single car.
Yeah.
As it stands, yeah.
So I don't have any revised comments from their initial comments, but their initial comments were make sure that everything is accessible, sprinkler system, alarm system. Yeah, meet all the fire codes. So it's run of the mill conditions from them.
Yeah, yeah. Board members, any questions? Maureen,
Yes.
please.
Just looking at, because it is assisted living, so I only see 2 handicap parking spots, which kind of wouldn't make sense. And then again, I want to say though, the building is beautiful. The building looks beautiful. However, there's stairs everywhere, and I really, having to deal with my mom who has a hard time going up and
Sure.
downstairs. Is there a way for better access? I think I do see. I love the elevator idea too. I think that's
Yep.
great. But I like even in an emergency, just so people can exit the building safely. Depending on where you are, that's
Right.
all I'm thinking.
No, I understand. As far as the handicap, I mean, that's what's required for handicap, so we're not proposing any more than what's required. Actually, I think we have one extra. And as far as, the access to emergency exits from within the building, I mean, they have to meet code and everything, so. We're just focused on the site plan here.
Yeah, all that stuff is handled not only from our fire department, but also the state regulations dealing with elderly housing.
So the state regulations, or what you're saying that it only requires 2 handicap spots, does that go with the population that you're serving though? Like if that was an elementary school, right, compared to maybe an assisted living where they're there because they need assistance.
Sure.
That's all.
But typically, a lot of the people in the assisted livings don't have cars either, so.
But their spouses do.
Do you see just not be seeing it? Just kind of a consistent question I ask. Can you point out the snow storage on site? Am I
It's
looking?
in there. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I can never manage to find that on my own. Okay.
Questions?
Mr. Disco?
Open for questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
First up, you started off by saying you were going to redesign this building so as you did not encroach into, I guess, the side setback in the rear, to the north.
Mm-hmm.
Are we looking at what you're going to do here, or
No,
we're not?
no.
So I want to see what you're going to do. I mean, this is not the plan he's asking us to approve tonight that we're seeing here.
Well, the site plan it's just the building would change to take out there'd be a notch in the building here.
Yeah, so that was gonna be my question. So
Yeah,
the setback on this side is here,
yeah, I got it.
zoning changes,
I
setback.
got
is
it. I got it.
They
Yeah.
may, if they can't get the variance, right, you would
Right.
remove that chunk of the building.
So the way the staff memo was written is we need a variance for this plan to move forward.
That's
And
what I
we-
understood. Yeah.
Right, and we're saying, well, we've talked to the owner or the applicant and the architect, and they said they can modify the building, so a variance wouldn't be required. So I guess it's either or, either we get a variance or we modify the building.
Well,
You're
you-
s- Go ahead.
we
Elsa, I'm
either
sorry.
approve this or we approve what you're gonna do, but I think it's different
Well, you could
building.
approve this with the condition we get a variance, or that we modify the building. But
Well, the part I don't care for is the part we can modify the building slightly because that affects your interior layout of the whole thing.
sure,
And may affect other things and may require an extension somewhere else. So if you're here tonight to ask us for approval of this particular configuration, we can act on that. Or we can do it with that condition that you get it, as suggested by staff, do it with that condition.
right.
But I'm not ready to go to any approvals. Well, if you need to change it, we're okay with that, without seeing it. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. I didn't get the visuals, and I got a quick look here while it was up, and then it's gone. So I don't know what this is going to look like.
Architecturals?
The architecturals, yeah, and I guess that looks pretty good. Is there a chimney on the north side there? Is that what I see sticking up?
That's what it appears to be.
Yeah, well, that's it, what it is or it isn't. I mean, it appears that way to me too, but is that what it is? Are there fireplaces in here? Are there?
No, there's no fireplaces. I'm
furnaces?
sure it's
What?
for the mechanicals.
Mechanical, yeah.
Yeah.
And the barn door and the entrance you said was gonna be used by ambulances to bring people in. And there's the stairway there. It seems like that's the entrance.
Correct. So they would have to, if they're actually bringing them in and they were in, they had to use the ADA, they'd have to walk around.
So the main entrance is on Maple Street. Do you
Correct.
have a rendering of what it
We
looks
don't
like?
have the rendering, I only have the rendering of what's
Oh, from Daniel
facing
Webster.
Daniel Webster. I apologize for that. I'm not sure why the architect didn't give us a rendering of each. But yeah, so they're gonna have to come and use that sidewalk in the front and bring them around. But that's definitely something I will get clarification on.
I almost think the horseshoe has no utility at that point.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it seems like it wouldn't.
Yeah, because if I had an ambulance, you
Unless-
just pull up
Unless
to
you're
the
gonna
front.
use it for parking visitors or something.
And
Yeah,
it's already there.
yeah, it is already there. But if you
Yeah.
made the barn door like a person loading dock, then it would make more sense.
Right.
I'm just not sure how it's gonna work though, because like I said, the basement level is well below. You're coming in mid-level there,
Yeah,
Yeah,
not more above the
just do a
mid-level.
scissor lift.
you're coming in a little below. Well,
Get real industrial real quick, yeah.
A lot of people in assisted living bring some of their own furniture.
yeah,
You
oh,
need a space to be able to get through that door.
well, it doesn't look like that door will serve the purpose. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this works. So offhand, I say, Mr. Chairman, that we need a little more detail on that whole thing. And whether or not, let me see, the site and the planting. Okay, I guess those were my main comments, was that,
Oh, Nelson, you make a good point. I
Those are good points.
must have misunderstood that the setback. I mean, to me, it looks like it changed because at the back of the building, you said you're going to have a notch. I did not notice that. Robert, I know I'm assuming, like you said, that Tim worked on this one. Is there a reason that he'd be okay with us pushing that forward without these even being the plans that they're actually going to build?
So you can, because it's such a minor modification, you can conditionally approve it with the condition that the design be presented to staff, that that's acceptable to us. If the board does not feel comfortable with that approach and they want to see it again, to show, to see the cutout and see everything, that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
I think I'd like to see what it's gonna be
I kind of would too.
before I
as
can
well.
say, yeah, go ahead with
I
it.
would also, I mean, I hate to,
I don't
well,
see
I
any
don't hate
doors or
to, sorry.
windows. I mean, is it a?
it's our purview. I'd like to see
Yeah, that's
a
fine.
rendering of more than one side as well.
Yeah.
Not to be a pain.
I'd like
but,
some measurements too. How big is this? You know, is that 40 feet? Is that 60 feet?
I mean, I'm not sure if that's even our jurisdiction as well, but having that horseshoe not be functional just does not make sense to me. Especially, I'm not the nurse, my wife is, but that even the ambulance driver wouldn't see sense in that. So you're gonna have to pull the ambulance in the parking lot, do a 3 or 4 point turn in order to get back out when there's a horseshoe there that you just can't use.
Yeah, I mean, it would make more sense to connect the walk down to this door.
I would, yes.
And am I correct? We're not seeing everything. You said that there's actually, because of the setback, there's going to be a cutout in that, in what you're showing us today.
Right, and that-
So
yeah.
the plan is to notch the building instead of getting a variance.
Right about there, yeah.
Right there. Yep.
And that's just in that zone, and that
Right, it's because
Right.
it's in 2 zones.
understood. How much would that put you over for the? How much would that put you over?
Over
Like
the
too close to the
over the property line or over the
setback?
Into the setback, I'm assuming it's 10 feet into the setback. Because the setback in this zone is 20 feet and we're pretty close to it. So if you carry that over, it's probably, and this is 30 feet, so it looks like we're 9 to 10 feet into the setback.
But right now you've got more of an intrusion into that setback with the existing buildings. You're taking that away. I would think giving you the variance, not speaking as as a zoning
As a
board
zoning
adjustment
board,
person,
I would assume
it's
they
a
would-
no-brainer.
It would be, yeah. I'd assume they'd be fine with a variance.
Yeah, it looks like quite a bit of, it's not just a little modification. That's quite a large modification.
Yes, to the building, yeah, as planned.
And if it came to us looking just like this with any other, I think, plan, we would have a lot of questions before we would make an approval, regardless that the rest of it was already approved.
I know that we've had things in the past where we've approved it with the condition of getting a variance. That's not an uncommon thing we've done.
Well, I don't know necessarily the variance is the way to go, but
Exactly, I
but if we
agree.
were to approve this plan, I would say that normally we would have more information in front of us so we could make an approval. So I don't
The
know,
applicant,
that
would you
be
rather
any-
the variance or, I mean, you have to raise
My
the building.
understanding, their preference is to modify the building.
Their preference is to modify instead of obtaining a
Instead of-
variance. Well, then, yeah, then I would agree with the board that I would like to see,
So
That's
especially
how
if
it was posed to Robert.
Yes. If that's what the applicant's
And that's perfectly
desire is, then
understandable.
yes. And I would completely agree. If you'd rather modify the building, then fine, we can go that
I would-
route.
Personally,
mean-
I would do the variance, but
Yeah.
you already done all
Not
this
a
work on
property
the
owner,
building.
but whatever. The other things, I'm sure the fire department would have said something. I don't think this is our purview, Robert. You can correct me, but that horse is really bugging me. That it's just there. It's just there for
I
no
will
reason.
definitely confirm that.
Yeah, I know the driveway was raised initially with the fire department, but
Yeah.
they didn't have any specific requirement to remove it or anything like
But
that.
we had to widen it for the fire department.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just saying for access, wheelchair access, stretcher access,
No, that's kind of a
ambulance
head scratcher.
access, because especially this day and age, the ambulance calls to these types of buildings are high.
And if, I agree with, maybe if you were to put the path down the side there so you had access to the other
Yeah.
side, it would make it a little bit more useful.
Yes.
But
But that would be something that we'd see on,
That's for-
on a complete print.
correct. So board members, how'd you like to approach this? Ms. Healy, please go ahead.
Are you planning to put any sidewalks in? Because I don't see any on here, and it might just be that I'm not seeing it.
So we have, like I said on the onset, we've continued the sidewalk along the frontage here. That's a
And what
request
about
of
down Maple Street?
the rest of the plan. There is no sidewalks on Maple Street, so we don't have one on Maple Street.
And is there any patio area or outside seating area for the residents? Because I'm not seeing one either.
No, it's not
Understand that I didn't bring my electron microscope, so I can't really see it.
I don't believe so.
There's no it doesn't look like there is access to the atrium, is there? For the residents, I mean.
No, I think it's just,
Just take a look at it.
It's
it's
just
like,
a-
we don't have, I don't have an elevation of this catwalk, so I'm not sure what that is in relation to the ground below it.
If it's an actual catwalk or if it's just a hallway. I gotcha. Okay.
I think we'd like more detail on that.
Yeah, should we continue this?
We're coming back. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
It's up to the members. Board members who don't have any other questions, if you know how you'd like to proceed.
I mean, there's plenty of room on the site to add a patio at a later time down in this area. All kinds of outside area there.
Mr. Chair, may I suggest public comment?
Yes, you may, and I'll take that suggestion. Thank you, Robert. Looking at the time is 7:35. I'd like to open up the public comment section. Any members of the public that wish to step forward and speak on this matter, please do so now. If you'd like to step up to the microphone, sir, introduce yourself,
Tell me.
name, address, and tell us what you have.
My name is Robert Stengel. I reside at 3 Pleasant Street with my wife Deborah. My
Yes, they do.
dining room window will be facing that dumpster.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat which window?
My dining room
You're
window
done. Okay, I'm looking.
will be
at it.
facing the dumpster dead on. I think it's great that this building is going to be used, period. But I have a couple of questions because I've been there for 37 years. Levi Lowles was there when we first moved in. Their dumpster was almost right on the back lot line. First of all, let me start with the loading area lighting. I noticed the lighting diagram does show that the lighting is not out a lot as far as the lines go. I just don't want to see any lighting that's going to be shining directly at my house.
It showed 0 at the lot line. I did check that.
Yeah, you're right.
But again, the illumination lines on the lighting plan show that it's going to be relatively minimal.
Yes, darker towards
But I
the,
just want to make sure that that doesn't happen. You know, I don't have these huge outdoor floodlights on my house.
Yeah.
The dumpster. With the renovation being done, that dumpster has moved considerably. It was about on the back corner, the northeast corner of the building in the old plan. It is now moved. Will there be any schedule for emptying of the dumpster and cleaning and sanitation of thereof in the surrounding areas? I see no water lines or faucets on the plans to clean it, and I'm concerned about wildlife, odors and wildlife. Summertime when Levi Lowell's was there, couldn't open your windows. The odor was just so bad. And I don't want that happening again.
No.
Overflow parking. My mom down in Tennessee was in a home, and I know during holidays and whatnot, there was a lot of overflow parking. Pleasant Street is used quite a bit. I haven't made a traffic study on it, but I live there. I can see people parking on Pleasant Street, both sides. There's no sign saying that you can't park there. And if fire trucks had to come through, they'd have tough luck trying to get through. So those are my only concerns, really. A little bit, I like the idea of maybe putting a patio area on that side where the parking lot for Levi Lowell's was in the back. Other than that, no. I think it's a fabulous project.
Thank you, Mr.
And if
Stengel.
I'm still living there, I may be there myself.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Board, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Not seeing any. I'm going to close the public comment portion at 7:38. Mr. Chamberlain, shed some light. Let me, before I get to that, Robert, Mr. Price, do we have town ordinance dealing with the dumpster pickups?
No, we do
Or is
not.
that okay? Is that handled strictly by us?
Yep.
By
Yes.
conditions on the. Okay, that's what I thought. Mr. Chamberlain, do you have any information to add on that question? Dumpster time pickups. Now that he says that, I do not see. Granted, I can't see that close.
have a
Whether
note?
there's like a, there's
Do we
usually a
have note on the
fence.
plans? So, you know, they have to be,
I mean, we can always add one to the conditions.
yeah, we can add,
Yeah, I think that's the way we'd handle it.
Yeah. I could, if you could, because I can't really tell even on my plans if there's like a stockade fence around that trash.
there is an enclosure
That's what I
specified
thought. There
already. Yeah.
usually has been on the newer
We
ones.
can add some landscaping as well.
Can you
Haven't seen
put it
now,
back
we-
where it
we
used
can-
to
If
be?
it's not on there, we can add a note that it can, you know, only be emptied at certain hours.
Well, I'm assuming that the surrounding residents wouldn't want it back where it used to be. I would assume they would want it more in.
Okay, well, this resident wants it
Did he?
out of here, doesn't like it here. And so he's looking at it.
Mhm.
Now, you can screen it if you properly screen it.
Yeah, I mean, it just says enclosure. As long as there's something around it that you can't.
Where it is in the enclosure is fine.
Okay.
I'm just concerned about the odor.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Go ahead.
where it is, you mean where it is on this plan or where it is on Levi Lowell's plan?
Well, Levi Lowell's ain't there anymore.
Yeah.
No, but where's the dumpster?
On this plan, it's fine.
So where it currently is on this plan. Yeah.
It's already moved.
Yeah, it was
Just
down
want to
here
make sure
before, right?
which plan.
down
we're
here
going by
before?
here.
Down in this
Where
corner?
it Comes out.
Down.
Right about there, right about there.
Yeah.
And where are you? You're over here?
Yep.
Yeah. So we've been told that just for the people at home, because he doesn't have a microphone, that the old Levi Lowell's dumpster was almost on the property line on Pleasant Street.
Yes.
So On this plan, it is moved in closer towards the building, which I'm surprised that it was that far away. at Levi
Yeah,
Lowe's
this was
anyways,
all
but
parking area. It was a gravel parking area.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there was, what do you call it? Valet parking. So you pull into the horseshoe and they drive around and park and they sandwich them in.
and just kind of packing in. Okay.
That's my
That was
understanding. I
before
never
my time
actually
as
went there.
well. That's, yeah.
As far as the lighting, it is shielded and downcast.
I do see that the measurements are showing 0, 0.
Yeah,
quite a
so
distance
it's
from
0,
the
0 on the
property
lot
line.
lines, and then this is the type of fixture, so it's shielded and it's not shining out.
When the time comes, we can always add a condition for dumpster pickups and drop-offs.
Yeah.
As Nelson said, that's how we have handled it in the past.
Now, Barbara had raised a question about the sidewalk, and I wanted to point out, Barbara, on page 5 of the plan set, along Daniel Webster Highway, it's clearly shown that it's a 5-foot bituminous concrete, I should say, sidewalk going the length of the property.
Do we require one on Maple Street,
That was the question.
Robert?
Okay, now,
Require what, one more time?
A sidewalk, since it abuts 2 roads.
Oh, okay, no, there's no sidewalk requirement. The sidewalk, it's optional to require sidewalks for the site plan regs.
we could require it if we,
That would be up to the board's
it'd
discretion,
be up to
correct?
the board. It would be a length of sidewalk, and it does not connect to any other sidewalk, I just point out.
Gotta start somewhere. You
It is right across the street from Shaw's, though, Nelson.
Okay, I'll vote for it if you.
It is right there.
Uh,
There
I
are
don't like to do that, but
I know.
I'll do
At
it.
least on DW.
Are there crosswalks on DW going to Shaw's? I don't think there are, actually.
No,
No,
There is not at either of those stoplights. There are
Run
not. Huh?
fast.
at the stoplights.
I'm surprised there's nothing. Okay.
what is your question?
If there were crosswalks at either of those stoplights
Which is,
going towards Shaw's, so crossing DW Highway,
well, they're quite a ways from here in either event.
I'm just saying because there is a sidewalk going the length of that street. So
I think there's one on the improvement plan for the Shaw's entrance.
is there?
What-
Coming,
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got Google Maps up. There's no crosswalk
Yeah.
to Shaw's there.
no, it's planned though.
Is planned. So, I mean, Nelson, like you said, that's always up for the board's discretion if we want to have them add a sidewalk onto Maple Street.
Yeah,
So that can be up for discussion. As Barbara said, there is a coming crosswalk. I'm surprised there's not already, but
Didn't we already go through all this the last time when the original thing came to us? That's why it's already been approved the way it was. We're just here for the amendment, right? We can't say that we can now throw a whole sidewalk in.
Yes, so to answer your question, yes, this has already been conditionally approved once, but them coming back does open it up so the board can require additional things.
that's why we had to have, yeah. I mean, granted, we could go the same route that we did last time, saying that there's already a sidewalk in the front. Why make them build 2? But just saying that it is open to the board.
there's not one already in the front.
Well, I mean, on the plans,
Yeah, they're gonna build one.
marked on the plans. There's
Yes,
not one
yeah.
currently there.
Yeah,
They do plan on
yeah.
putting one in the front. Yes. So, board members, how do you want to move forward with this?
Chairman, I would make a motion to postpone any action on this.
To
Give the-
what? It's up to the applicant if he has a specific date.
Well, how long it will take them to do.
What would we like to see on the plans? I personally would like to see the cutout, obviously, if that's the way the applicant would like to go. I would like them to figure something out with that horseshoe. But,
And the front entrance altogether.
correct,
I would
yes, that's
throw that in
incorporate it
there.
somehow, because it just does not make sense to me, but,
Yeah,
would we like them
And-
to show some sort of sidewalk on Maple Street?
yeah,
Is
let's
that
say yes.
of interest?
Let's include that, yeah. For
Is
that.
everybody in agreement on that?
Yeah, for
Yeah. Okay,
Okay. Like Barbara said, you got to start somewhere. If there's not one on Maple Street, well, there will be now.
I'm with Barbara.
There you go. Anything else we'd like them to look into before they come back? Miss Tracy?
I do think what the gentleman said about overflow parking, I don't know if there really is enough parking for that many residents, including people who work there. So,
Robert, what is our parking requirement? I see that they're not looking for a waiver, so I'm assuming they're meeting the requirement. I can open up my packet.
The parking requirement is a half space per resident unit or bed, plus one per employee, plus one per facility vehicle or bus if provided. So they've calculated that out as saying that they require 20 spaces and they have 20 spaces.
Could you say that again, Robert? Because I
So that's
missed
not
part of it. I'm sorry.
If they have 24.
right.
It was a half space per bed.
On the site plan sheet, sheet number 4,
Yeah.
the top left of the page, note number 17 has the parking calculation. Mr. Chamberlain's got it on the screen up there.
Uh-huh.
It says that the requirement is 0.5 parking spaces per resident unit or bed, plus one per employee, plus one per facility vehicle or bus if provided.
Uh-huh.
That calculates out to a total of 20 spaces needing to be required, and they have provided 20.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our regulation, right?
Okay.
I hate to see parking signs everywhere.
Yeah. No parking.
No parking signs everywhere, but how, and, you know, based on what this gentleman has brought up with the overflow parking, is there a way we can designate any other areas for that? Whereas they already meet the requirement? Or, I hate to say, well, put up some no parking signs, because they just look like packed. Yeah, they look terrible. But, I suppose it would be their problem to deal with if they had people, like too many cars coming in. I would hate to see people lined up during the holiday seasons visiting or popular visiting times lined up on the street because, well, right now they don't have a sidewalk on Maple Street. But how do you even access the property if you do have to park there, walk across the grass? You know,
Well, you're going to be walking on the sidewalk that we'd like to see. In the
be
plan.
walking on the sidewalk if that comes to it. But there is really no way to prevent that other than to require more parking, but they already meet their
Well,
requirement.
yeah, that's what it comes down to. If that's what our regulation says, we don't really have
Any,
authority to make them go beyond the regulations of already calculated spots. I know what Bob would say. He would hate to have them build parking for 2 or 3 days of the year that you're going to use it.
you build a parking lots, right? I'd rather see
Just to
green
have it
space
be
than parking
used.
lots. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would agree with him. I mean, they meet our ordinance, so I mean that's the ordinance.
Right.
And I think you could park along the side of this driveway, truth be told.
Uh-huh.
You could even have
It's fairly gentle grades.
Well, I mean, we'll see what the fire department says about that. I don't know if they'd want people parking on their way to get behind the building.
Yeah.
But
It's not designated on Maple Street as being no parking there, so there's nothing to stop anyone from parking there and walking there.
correct.
So, and for that matter, even on DW, I've seen people, there's no sign saying no parking, so.
All right. When would you like to come back? How long do you think it would take you to revamp these plans?
I would say the minimum, and then we could ask for a continuance if necessary. I just, you know, we're relying on the architect, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm assuming you're not going to want the 17th, obviously.
Yeah, I'd push for February 7th, given the extreme length of the January 17th agenda right now.
I don't tell me that.
Yeah. It is.
It's fine.
February 7th, you think you'd be able to make that?
Yep.
Board members?
I'm okay.
Everybody's okay with that? Can I hear a motion as to that?
I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman. And I don't have it written down now, so I'm going to
Okay.
stumble through this.
To continue to the
To
February
continue.
7th meeting?
Yes, to the February 7th meeting.
Motion made by Mr.
Yeah.
Disco to continue to the February 7th meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Seconded by Ms. Healy. Do I have any further discussion? Not seeing any, all in favor of continuing this item to the February 7th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? That's 7-0-0 to continue you to the February 7th meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Chamberlain, for the discussion.
Bring in some, get us some, if you can, Mr. Chamberlain, if you can, get us some views of the building.
Some nice renderings.
Rendering, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 7. That's 526 Daniel Webster Highway LLC as the applicant and the owner. This is review for consideration of amendment to a previously approved site plan requesting the removal of parking space wheel stops as currently required by the approved plan. The parcel is located at 526 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial, Aquifer Conservation, and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. This is tax map 5D-2, lot 001, planning board case number 2023-01. Robert, what can you tell us about this?
Due to an issue with the legal notice, this item has been renoticed for January 17th, so the board's to take no action at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any questions, board members?
Question, why does he want to do this? I think he should have some reason to oppose.
I would have
I'm-
to defer to the actual hearing. I don't think I should be discussing it now since there's no
Since he's
hearing
not
on the
here and we
table.
don't have him.
No,
to
I
go
just
off of.
I want it at the hearing. I
Yeah.
don't
Yep.
need it now.
I would hope he would come with a reason to the hearing instead of just saying please. But we will see when we
The
get there.
cement thing.
All right, with no action being needed on item number 7, item number 8 is discussion and possible action regarding other items of concern. Does anybody have any other items of concern?
Not at the moment.
Not seeing any. That is on to item number 9, which is approval of the minutes from the December 20th meeting. Do we have any edits proposed?
Proposed edit,
Mr.
Page.
Disco, please.
page 5, line 25. Mr. Price clarified that Harris Pond Drive actually sits on the applicant's property. Mr. Bollinger also reaffirmed that the traffic generated from this proposal and easily be accommodated by the existing roadway without any mitigation. I think it meant to say can easily be, rather than and easily appropriate.
You get that, Robert? Any discussion on that, board members? Mr. Disco, any further edits?
That's all. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes otherwise as printed.
Motion made to approve as edited and printed by Mr. Disco. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion on the minutes? Not seeing any. All in favor of approving the minutes as printed and edited, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? 1. That's Neil Anketel abstaining. That is 6-0-1 in approval of the minutes. That brings us on to item number 10, adjournment. Do I hear a motion? So moved by Ms. Healy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anketel. Any further discussion on the adjournment? Seeing none. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I think my hand went up before.
I gave it to Neil because he didn't get one earlier, so. All
All
abstaining.
are in favor.
That's 7-0-0 in favor of adjournment, Robert. Thank you very much, board members. Please make sure that your microphones are turned off.